Hello and welcome to your sports podcast, Turning Point. Two big shifts in Indian cricket this week. Earlier, the Manchester Test getting cancelled. We shall revisit the episode and talk about why that test matters. But first, the big news on Virat Kohli. He Instagrammed a note saying that he will be stepping aside from the T20 captaincy in Indian cricket just after the World Cup, and that came as a huge surprise to the fans and the cricket community. Let's talk about this big decision coming in with the man who has penned Virat Kohli's biography, Driven, and also the senior sports journalist, consulting editor of Sports Star, Vijay Lokpalli. Vijay, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. Well, the talks of Virat Kohli stepping aside has been there for a while now. But what do you think could have been the trigger moment?
If you ask me honestly, the trigger moment has to be the fact that he has realized there is time for him to his own cricket in mind. I'm not trying to say that the team, he has to concentrate on the team all the time, but the fact remains that given the amount of cricket the Indian team is playing, given the modern, the last couple of years, the pressures of bio bubble, quarantine. So he is not able to concentrate on his own batting. So that is one key reason that he has decided to give up T20 format after the World Cup, and he'll continue to be the ODI captain and the Test captain.
But he will continue to play in the T20 format, right?
That's what he has indicated. Now it's up to the selectors to pick him, Rika, because he has. It was his call that he would not like to take the captaincy, but he hasn't indicated that he will not be playing the T20. It is for the selectors to pick him once he is not the captain.
And, it's interesting that this news comes just days before the IPL, just days before the ICC World T20. Now, let's start on the immediate impact that it might have on his team, Royal Challengers Bangalore, him stepping aside from the T20 captaincy.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure, Rika, he must have taken even the franchisees into confidence. I mean, if not before making the decision, it will be known to them. And he will revisit his captaincy for the franchisee also, because there again the pressure will always be there of 14 matches plus the next two games if you're winning the title. But the main grouse his fans have is that he has not been able to win an IPL title, which Rohit Sharma has won 5 times for Mumbai Indians. So he obviously has that in mind. He wants to correct a few things. For all you know, the cricket is very funny, Rika. He may end up winning his first IPL title, and he may go on to win the T20 World Cup also. So what do you do then? Does he continue?
Right. Can the decisions be reversed if he wins both the titles or at least one of them? Do you think there is a scope of reversing the decision?
That will depend on the selectors. He has already indicated, and if the selectors feel that he has to, there is something he has talked about managing load management. Now it has come in because of the amount of cricket they are playing. If they were selective, and now here it will give him an opportunity, he can concentrate on ODI and of course Test matches, because he has always valued Rika, he's always valued Test matches. He's always gone out of the way to kind of popularize Test cricket. He has egged on all his youngsters to come and play Test matches more and concentrate on the longer version. But the call to reinstate or call to keep him as captain will be now with the selectors.
Vijay, as I speak to you, so many questions come flooding into my mind. But the first question really is, since cricket is highly corporatized these days, what kind of impact in terms of, brand value do you think it'll have, this decision of Virat Kohli will have on Royal Challengers Bangalore?
Obviously, because when you are the captain of the Indian team, you are always in the focus. You are always, take Virat's case. He is the face of cricket as far as broadcasters are concerned. If you see the number of every time there is a wicket falling or every time any incident happening, the camera focuses on Virat Kohli, and I'm sure, Rika, there must be one camera or two cameras dedicated to follow Virat's movements on the field. But it will impact the brand value, no doubt, because now he is not an automatic choice in the team as far as T20 is concerned. Like we talked, he will have to perform and then justify his selection. But brand value will get impacted because now whoever is the captain, I mean, we are assuming that Rohit Sharma will be made the captain. I'm not too sure about that. But it will mean that whoever is the new captain will be the face, who will be seen more in T20s. But of course, it depends, Rika, how many T20 games India is going to play in the next 1 year or next 2 years, whatever. But yes, as far as IPL is concerned, it will impact his brand value, no doubt.
Vijay, cricket today is highly commercialized. Do you think a franchise may have its say on selection of a player or a captain?
No, Rika, I mean, from outside, we do think that probably these franchises, they tend to influence, but I don't think, because the selectors have their job cut out. Otherwise, they would not be doing justice to their roles, and BCCI will not accept any such interference or any such influence from outside forces, because BCCI itself is quite capable of picking the best 15. That's why they have these selectors who are dedicated to the job. Franchisee, yes, they can go and definitely they can try and, off the record as they say, go and speak to the selectors, try and campaign for a selection of one of the players. But it will be wrong to say that selectors will come under the influence. I know for sure the previous committee and the one before that, they had their own voice, and they would not, they never entertained such an idea that they would be inclined to support player because the franchisee would have made a request. And definitely this selection committee, people think that it's a weak one. It is not. They have been given they have been given the mandate by the BCCI, and they are free to pick who they want. So in any case, Rika, if you see, selectors, when they pick the team has to be ratified, cleared by the BCCI president. So there is a system in place. I don't think outside forces will try and work and succeed also.
Virat Kohli in his Instagram post spoke about workload management. Now, post-pandemic, India has played only 8 T20 matches. Do you think that's too much on a player, in the scheme of things?
No, Rika. I mean, if you remember a while ago, I said it depends. India doesn't play many T20 games. It plays ODI matches and then it plays test matches. So that's why if you see the number of days when you play cricket becomes, it looks very large because some of them are playing domestic cricket also. Then they are playing IPL also. Then they are preparing for the tours. Maybe IPL tournament or maybe a foreign tour. But like you mentioned, Rika, the pandemic has put a lot of pressure on the players, and you also have spoken to them. You can realize that it is not easy to deal with quarantine day in, day out, and then maintain your mental health. These issues are there. I mean, you are not able to concentrate. And I have been honestly in touch with many players. Even support staff, they find it very tough. Even the commentators, Rika, they are not playing, but they feel the pressure of this pandemic that they are not able to do normal things. So when you are playing, you are under such tremendous pressure to perform, and that is why this workload management, it is not nothing new. It has been there for some time now, as far as bowlers are concerned, as far as their workload at the nets is concerned, at the practice sessions is concerned. So there are people dedicated to monitor this workload issue as far as players is concerned. So in the pandemic increased, and these mental health issues are very, very important now because many of them are close to breaking down, believe me.
Right. Now, you mentioned earlier in the podcast that Virat Kohli perhaps now is trying to, look at his own batting form, consolidate himself there. Would you say then his target pretty much is Sachin Tendulkar's 100-100, and he feels that that's something that will be a realistic target to get to at some point, and he should put in all his resources into that?
To tell you, I can share with you that in heart of heart, he doesn't set such targets that he will have to go and break a certain record. It happens. But in Virat's case, we know, Rika, there's been some time where that he hasn't got an international 100. But people think T20, as you say, 8 T20 game. Now, how many hundreds do you see in a T20 game? It is different from ODI, where you go and open, or maybe at number 3 slot, or maybe you play a big innings coming in the middle order that you get to 100. But test matches is different. Test matches, you back yourself to play a long innings. And unfortunately, in his case, he's got a couple of rousing 50s, but he couldn't translate them into 100 for many reasons. I always feel, Rika, that he is the prime batsman every opposition tries to get. So in the process, he has to face sometimes unplayable deliveries. If you sit back and analyze dispassionately,
right?
So he's often getting out to good deliveries. So he will have to look at this aspect of now concentrating on test matches. Yes, he will be able to give more time to sort out his weaknesses, as we have seen the former players pointed out, Mr. Gavaskar also especially, about his weakness outside the off stump in England. So now he will get probably more time to look after his batting.
Vijay, post Virat Kohli's decision to get away from T20 captaincy, lots of stories have been doing the rounds. Firstly, perhaps he had alienated himself a little bit from his mates in the dressing room by not keeping channels of communication open. Secondly, about his autocratic style of behavior. And the third story that, I found was really intriguing was that Virat Kohli at some point may have gone to the selectors asking for Rohit Sharma's removal from vice captaincy. What do you make of all these stories that are doing the rounds?
Rika, I would definitely not agree with the suggestion that he has been autocratic, because if you ask the players, they are very happy. They don't have any complaints. Even Rohit Sharma, much was made of that they don't get along well. But when you are in the team, there will be times when you may have differences on a particular issue. But being mature cricketers, sportsmen, they've never allowed those differences to come in the way of performance as far as the team is concerned. And you look at all the junior players, they have only praise for Virat. Maybe somebody like Kuldeep Yadav may have this grudge that, okay, he was not probably given as many chances as he deserved. But then you have to remember that it is not just Virat Kohli. There's Ravi Shastri, there are the support staff is there, also part of the system, and the vice captain in test matches. Even Ajinkya Rahane has a say in the team selection matters when you're traveling abroad. So, and the 5 selectors who are there to protect players from such autocratic measures. If we tend to believe that. But you look at somebody like Siraj, Rika, when he was in Australia, he lost his father and he could not come back. He decided to stay on. The man who was constantly in touch with him was Virat Kohli. Right through the tour, and Siraj I don't remember if he has said that, but I know for sure that Virat had a big influence on Siraj continuing and performing in Australia. So, because Virat himself had gone through that agonizing phase where he came and played a match the day his father died. So, most of the youngsters, they look up to him. They have followed his template for fitness, template for concentrating on whichever one day, or there are strong points. Is somebody like Ishan Kishan. He raves about him. He's a modern day cricketer. So I think Virat also knows that he cannot get away by being autocratic. Yes, sometimes there are times when he would like to, at the end of the day's play, he would like to give time to his family. He is a father now of, I'm sure nobody would grudge Virat devoting more time to his family after the day's play. So there people may think, okay, he has become elusive or he's become aloof, but that is not the case. Most of the cricketers now, once the game is over, day's play is over, they don't get to meet as it was in the earlier days when they would not travel with their families. So this is one aspect we should keep in mind.
Last but not the least, now since Virat Kohli made this announcement of stepping aside from the T20 captaincy, BCCI subsequently also sent a press release. Does that mean that they are relieving him of all the responsibilities of even what happens during the ICC World T20? Win or lose, you're not responsible for what happens.
Well, it is like I was reading somewhere that it's a win-win situation for Virat. He's already announced that he will not be taking up captaincy. So if he wins, he goes on a high. If he doesn't, they will tell you, okay, he already announced, so he has not been removed. He has decided to go on his terms. And Rika, honestly, forget whether I've written a book on him, but I'm very happy for him because he had taken upon too many responsibilities. Many of them are not, those responsibilities are not seen on the screen when the game is on. He's always, if he has to think about his own game, he's also thinking about how the other colleagues in the team, they excel, they do well.
Right.
And, yeah, so I think I'm happy that he is going to concentrate on ODIs and test matches. If you ask me honestly, he should only concentrate on test matches, give up the captaincy even for the ODI if it comes to it.
Well, we'll really have to wait and see. That's perhaps, if it happens, it'll take some time to happen because the next major fixture that India has is the 2023 World Cup, which is going to be at home. But Vijay, meanwhile, thank you very, very much for this most enlightening chat, and I think it'll be great for our listeners to learn all the knowledge, all the wisdom that you had to share. That was one of the major stories in Indian cricket. The second too involves Virat Kohli, and it started with him sending an email to BCCI on the night of 9th of September. We are talking about the cancellation of the Manchester Test about a week back, and joining me on the podcast Turning Point this week is former BBC Sports editor Mihir Bose, who's also the author of 9 Waves, the extraordinary story of Indian cricket. Mihir, thank you very much for talking to us. We'll have to really ask you, what's the mood in England and in Manchester right now? It's been a week since the Test match has been cancelled. Have people forgotten? Because in the meantime, we also saw a very exciting high-octane match where Cristiano Ronaldo played for the first time in so many years for Manchester United. He went back home. But, have the fans really forgotten what happened?
Well, first of all, we've got to realize that as far as England is concerned, football is the number one sport. It dominates everything else. So in football fans generally, cricket doesn't intrude into their lives. Among cricket fans, certainly there's a lot of resentment. There are lots of cricket fans who arrived, who had taken time off. Some of them had taken flights to be in Manchester for the test match, and then found in the morning that there wasn't a test match. They had taken holidays and so on. So among them, there's a lot of resentment. There is also anger among them about what they see as the power of Indian cricketers. That basically they see that the Indian cricketers decided they didn't want to play. They wanted to make sure they played in the IPL, which of course is this huge money-making vehicle for players and for cricket, Indian cricket. And also they feel a resentment, and you've got to understand the background to this, that English cricket is going through a lot of changes. This season has seen the introduction of the 100, a completely new form of cricket, which is meant to popularize cricket. Many fans who like Test cricket, the 5-day cricket, that 5-day intensity, the theatre between bat and ball, batsmen and bowlers and so on, they resent the 100. So to them, all of this is English cricket giving way on Test cricket and giving way to Indian power. And there is anger, certainly.
Mihir, since you mentioned about the hundreds and this and English cricket going through an experimental phase, then let me ask you, does the Manchester Test really matter now that the Test series is over? We don't know whether there can be a continuation of this Test series or a one-off test. But if it is to be staged, would it matter to the fans?
Well, there are two facts to this. One is the commercial aspect. The Test match not being staged means the England-Wales Cricket Board will lose out money from the broadcasters because the income they get from that is based on the number of Test matches that are played. And remember, for the England-Wales Cricket Board, India is a huge money spinner. In English cricket, much is made about the Ashes, and of course that is a great emotional thing in English cricket, playing Australia, the oldest form of competition between the two countries in cricket and so on. But it's actually India that earns much more money. And India playing 5 tests, something India doesn't like playing abroad or even at home for that matter. And India playing 5 tests is something that English cricket has been very keen on and has cultivated the Indians, got them to agree to playing 5 tests. So they're going to lose out money on that. The second thing is that there is the factor that if the cricket match is not played, England would like to claim the Test series, since the Test series becomes a draw 2-2, not a 2-1. And of course the Indians would like to claim win or preserve their win, if you like. That has an impact on the ICC Test Championship. And of course, to a certain extent, though probably that doesn't matter so much to the Indians, but it certainly has some impact. This would be the first time that India would win a series in England since 2007, and only the second time they would have won a series by winning 2 matches. The last time was in the first and the last time was in 1986. So you have all these factors at play here, and there's the whole question, the ongoing debate. Is Test cricket going to carry on? Throughout the summer, there's been a lot of talk that Virat Kohli, for all his ability and prowess and T20 and IPL and white ball 50 overs cricket, Virat Kohli has been going on about how important Test cricket is. And does this mean that the Indians, the great money bags of cricket, the power brokers, the men who run cricket, no longer care about Test cricket? So, it raises the questions about the future of Test cricket, how important it is for the major countries that play cricket.
While we do know that Virat Kohli harps on the importance of Test cricket, but the turning point in this whole episode was that email from Virat Kohli, as David Carr said day before yesterday, that he sent out a mail to BCCI saying that the players are scared, they don't want to take the field. So my question really to you is, should the English Cricket Board not have been taken in confidence when they were deciding on this? The players refused to take the field. Was the English Cricket Board powerless in front of BCCI?
Well, all cricket boards are powerless in front of BCCI. We've known that. For the last 20 years, India has taken over world cricket. That's a major, major thing. I discussed this in my book, The 9 Waves, which you mentioned. This is the first time that international sport has passed from white people to non-white, brown hands. No other international sport, if you football or rugby or tennis or golf, they are all, though they have changed over the last 30 or 40 years, no other international sport has passed into non-white hands. So that has happened. I think there's also much publicity given in the British press that Ravi Shastri, in the days leading up to the Oval Test, had a book launch at St. James's Court Hotel, where the Indian team was staying. It was in the courtyard of the hotel. In fact, I was invited to that, and I went there, and several other people were there. And there has been talk that the ECB wasn't aware of this, and they should have been kept informed and things like that. So there's been a bit of resentment at the way the Indian team or management of the Indian team has gone about it.
You spoke about resentment. So is the resentment in the ECB ranks or among public or among the press? Where is the resentment right now?
The ECB has made no comment on it. This is on the basis of what the newspapers are talking about. This is on the basis of what the media is talking about. And this is on the basis of what has been expressed in the media about English fans are talking about. Remember, India taking over world cricket is still a phenomenon that English cricket is coming to terms with. The authorities have come to terms with. They know the power of Indian cricket. The people who run the game have come to terms with long ago. But English cricket fans, the idea that India dictates world cricket and dictates to England what it should do is a newish idea. You know, English fans think of Australia as the most important cricket nation. Playing Australia is the most important thing. Ashes and protecting that urn and making sure Australia don't get their hands on the urn. Not that the urn is ever allowed to leave England. It always stays at Lord's, but the Australians are occasionally allowed to handle it when they win. But, you know, that is the most important thing. And that is a very, very newish phenomenon that English fans are realizing. And what this Manchester Test has shown is the power of Indian cricket, something that is a new realization. The superpower that has come in and can dictate to England. So that creates a certain amount of resentment.
So what you say is that the emotions of English cricket are tied, when it comes to test matches, are tied to Australia, and the economics are tied to India. Would you say then the resumption of Manchester Test, if it happens, would matter to England only economically and not that much emotionally? Even if they are to lose the Test series 3-1, it wouldn't matter to them that much?
Well, first of all, a lot of people would say, how can you have a test series spread over 2 years? A test series is a 5-test series. The 5-test series is held very sacrosanct, particularly in England. This test series was going brilliantly. The first test was drawn. Had there not been rain, who knows, India might have won. At Lord's, India had an amazing triumph. I was there at Lord's. The last day, Virat Kohli and Jasprit Bumrah in India's pace attack turned the tables. Then at Headingley, India lost dramatically, being bowled out for 78 on the first day. And then at the Oval, they came back, being behind nearly all the match, and they came back on the final day. So the test series was boiling up to the sort of finish that English cricket has imagined 5 test series to be, one after the other, mood changes, and this has been described as one of the great test series. So it didn't finish, it didn't conclude. So there is that sort of feeling of loss, if you like, something, the cinema hasn't finished, the end hasn't flashed up. We still don't know what happens in the end. It's a bit like, if I can recall Mughal-e-Azam, one of the all-time great films, Madhubala has danced in Akbar's court, but what has happened later on? Has she gone away with Prince Salim, or has she been exiled? We don't know. I mean, and that feeling of unfinished business remains. And to finish that business the following year with a single test is not considered very satisfactory. It will be felt here to have been done in order to make sure that the England and Wales Cricket Board do not lose out money, and that this is a commercial thing. And remember, there is increasing, and has been for some time, bitterness among the football fans and generally sports fans about how commercial sport has become, that everything in sport is talked about in money terms.
Mm-hmm. And whether the story finishes or not, we still have to wait and see. And a lot will depend on how ICC also reacts to it. And perhaps the ECB is going to ask for a commission to be set up to decide on the future of the series. Thank you very much, Mihir Bose, for joining me on the podcast Turning Point.
Thank you.
Those were expert insights on 2 major cricket stories this week, both with interesting twists and turns with several turning points. If you would like to hear more about such sports stories, do email me on rika@ndtv.com. For now, it's a goodbye.